Welcome to the Autoimmune Tipping Point. I'm Josie Warren, the Autoimmune Expert. Today, we're going to be diving into Raynaud's disease. Is it a phenomenon or is it a syndrome? Now, Raynaud's disease was one of the 8 autoimmune diseases that I had. And what was challenging for me about it was what doctors told me to do for it. They basically told me just to buy some hand warmers or warmer gloves or warmer socks. I even went as far to buy electrical battery powered gloves that I'd wear in the winter times here in Colorado. I basically look like Darth Vader. And I suppressed how challenging having Raynaud's was. Here's the thing. No one talks about the emotional impact of a disease like Raynaud's. Yes, its attacks are usually only 15 minutes. Yes, that, usually my hands would go back to normal and I could just go on. But when I started getting Raynaud's, what it really meant for me was that I started feeling like I was losing control of my body. I didn't know if I went outside in the cold, how long I'd be able to do it, or even if I wanted to. And the years went on when I had Raynaud's disease. My life became smaller and smaller. I stayed inside more. And I just still remember how scary that was. I tried to brush it off like having Raynaud's was no big deal. Many people have Raynaud's, who cares? But there was a huge chasm for me between having Raynaud's and then also that emotional impact of it. And as the years went on and I continued to have Raynaud's and develop other autoimmune diseases, it felt like I was getting further and further and further away from the person, the active person that I wanted to be, the person with confidence that I knew I was somewhere in there. And it just was really scary because there was no solution for it. And I want you to know that I'm 8 years completely healthy of Raynaud's syndrome. I no longer have it, and I don't have any of my other autoimmune diseases anymore either. So today, not only are we going to be diving into Raynaud's, but I'm going to talk with you about exactly what I did to resolve it, so you don't have to live off of hand warmers and warm gloves ever again. And so let's explore what Raynaud's is. And for me, this is really confusing. So bear with me here. There are 2 kinds of Raynaud's syndrome. There is Raynaud's disease, which is known as primary Raynaud's, which occurs on its own. Doctors and scientists believe it is not connected to any other disease. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Raynaud's phenomenon, which is also known as secondary Raynaud's. Now, doctors and scientists believe this occurs due to an underlying condition, like an autoimmune disease, medication, or some kind of lifestyle factor. And again, incredibly confusing. So I want you to know today we are going to be simplifying Raynaud's into one singular condition and then sharing exactly what you can do to resolve it. So what happens with Raynaud's disease is there's a short-term interruption of the blood flow to the extremities, most commonly in those fingers and toes, like most common for me. Also can happen to your nose, your mouth, even those earlobes. And during a Raynaud's attack, the small veins in our fingers, toes, other extremities tighten more than they should. As a result, that affected skin turns white, then goes to blue, and then as it begins to warm up, turns back to red. Now, an attack usually lasts around 15 minutes, and this is all according to Johns Hopkins. Women are 9 times more likely to develop Raynaud's than men, and it seems that people in colder climates, it happens to them more often. Now, Raynaud's affects 1 in 20 people in the US, which, get this, that's about 5 to 10% of our entire US population. And so you'd think doctors and scientists would know the cause, but you'll be surprised when I share with you about what they think causes Raynaud's in just a moment. But let's talk about those symptoms of Raynaud's. Now, first and foremost, those color changes. Those were very familiar to me. The skin in your extremities turning to white, then to blue, and like I said, as it warms up, turning back to red. The feeling of coldness or numbness in our extremities. And they say this happens when your fingers or other affected body parts aren't receiving enough oxygen-rich blood. Another symptom is the feeling of warmth, tingling, stinging, or throbbing when those extremities begin to warm up. And finally, some people can develop skin ulcers and even gangrene from having Raynaud's syndrome because they say the longer and more frequent your attacks, that can lead to painful sores on these extremities. And rarely, but sometimes, there's a lack of oxygen to the tissues that can even result in tissue death, resulting in gangrene. Next, let's explore the cause of Raynaud's syndrome. And this is according to the Raynaud's Association. They say that although it's been 100 years since Raynaud's was recognized, little is known about the condition, its cause, or its cure. And according to the National Institute of Health, the primary form of Raynaud's has no known cause. Scary, right? The doctors and scientists that we put our faith and trust in their hands are telling us they don't know where Raynaud's syndrome is actually coming from. Not only is that problematic, so is their definition of the two different kinds of Raynaud's. It leaves you wondering, like it did for me, is mine primary? Is it secondary? What's really causing it? How can you heal from Raynaud's if you don't know where it's really coming from in the first place? And so we're going to get to the real cause of Raynaud's syndrome. But first, I want to simplify it for you. And this is really important. Raynaud's is simply an autoimmune disease, period. And an autoimmune disease is a condition in which your body's immune system becomes dysregulated and attacks the tissues and organs it was designed to protect. In the case of Raynaud's disease, that overactive immune system is attacking the small blood vessels in your extremities. This is all backed up by the Autoimmune Association, who recognizes Raynaud's disease as an autoimmune disease. Now, to do some more research on your own in this, I'm going to leave that link in the notes for this video. But I know Raynaud's is an autoimmune disease, and here's why. From my own experience, when I treated my autoimmune diseases, guess what happened? Raynaud's syndrome resolved permanently, right? So I know personally that it is an autoimmune disease because when I worked on my autoimmune diseases, it went away. And here's the thing, same with all my students. It is incredibly common for people with autoimmune diseases to also have Raynaud's syndrome. And when working on the autoimmune disease and resolving it, Raynaud's always resolves too. So to me, it's definitive. I know that it is a singular condition. There's not a primary, there's not a secondary, singular Raynaud's, and it is an autoimmune disease. And here's why that's a really good thing. Because regardless if you have Raynaud's or other autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or let's say scleroderma or fibromyalgia, they're all autoimmune diseases. They have the same origin, the dysregulated immune system. To resolve Raynaud's and all autoimmune, all you have to do is work on regulating your immune system and making it go back to normal. When it stops attacking the tissues or organs, and for Raynaud's, that is those small blood vessels in our extremities, it resolves. And so I want to let you know that Raynaud's is not coming from the leaky gut, right? It's not an autoimmune disease. It's coming from the Epstein-Barr virus or genetics, toxins, environmental bacteria. Raynaud's disease is also not coming from lifestyle factors, like they say, using vibrational tools. It's not coming from that. It's also not coming from other autoimmune diseases. Raynaud's and all autoimmune diseases, again, are coming simply from that dysregulated immune system. Work on that, resolve Raynaud's and all autoimmune. This is really important for you to understand if you have an autoimmune like Raynaud's, because all that needs to be addressed, again, is that dysregulated immune system when you work on the symptoms of your autoimmune disease. In the case of Raynaud's, that's things like hand warmers, avoiding cold weather, gloves, heated clothing, or other autoimmune, you might be using medication, supplements, food protocols. That is all symptom management. You can never resolve Raynaud's or any other autoimmune disease working on symptom management. No one told me this when I had my autoimmune diseases. And if you want to learn the harsh truth about symptom management, please watch my master course. You're going to understand why everything you've been doing for Raynaud's or other autoimmune has not worked, and you're going to learn what to do. And so let's go into the solution. How do you get Raynaud's to resolve permanently without any kind of foods, supplements, or medication? And again, this is going to be exactly what I did. And it all starts with our emotions. So listen very carefully here. Suppressed emotional stress is what weakens the immune system. And over time, suppressed emotional stress weakens the immune system enough that it causes the body to enter into the sympathetic nervous system and into a state of fight or flight. And it gets stuck in there. And stuck in fight or flight, that dysregulated immune system starts attacking tissues and organs. In the case of Raynaud's, it starts attacking, again, those small blood vessels in our extremities. And so to resolve Raynaud's, all you need to do is get out of fight or flight. Get out of fight or flight, turn off your fight or flight mechanism, and your body will exit the sympathetic nervous system, which you are living in right now, having Raynaud's disease. And you will enter into the parasympathetic nervous system, where your body enters back into its adaptive state of homeostasis. And in homeostasis, your body levels return to normal. Your immune system, most importantly, returns to normal functioning. And in the case of Raynaud's, it stops attacking those small blood vessels. Raynaud's disease resolves, as do the symptoms, right? The changing of the color of our skin, that tingling, that numbness, it all permanently resolves. And for me, it was amazing. My feet never went numb again in my bed. I never had to worry about going skiing or going outside or being in the cold. I don't own any battery-powered gloves anymore. It all happened by resolving Raynaud's, by getting out of fight or flight and turning fight or flight off. So to learn how to turn off your fight or flight mechanism and permanently resolve Raynaud's syndrome, I want you to check out my free master course, because you're going to learn, number one, why you got Raynaud's. 2, why everything you've been doing to resolve it has not worked. 3, why doctors, specialists, and functional medicine have Raynaud's syndrome all wrong. And 4, most importantly, the roadmap to turning off fight or flight, moving from the sympathetic nervous system where you are now into the parasympathetic nervous system, regulating your immune system, and permanently resolving Raynaud's and all of your symptoms. And so thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm incredibly passionate about autoimmune diseases, and I want you to know the freedom that comes when you finally work on what's really going on and stop managing your symptoms. This pathway of healing is here for you, and that is what the Autoimmune Tipping Point is all about.